Welcome to the Build Business Acumen podcast, where we deliver practical knowledge and powerful guidance. Here is your futuristic host, Nathaniel Schooler.
Well, today I am joined by Alex Mcallian, who is the founder of Greater Change, which is a great charity, actually, that supports people who really need it most. And I'm looking forward to speaking with you, Alex.
Hi, yeah. So Greater Change is a non-profit social enterprise helping people experiencing homelessness move on. Obviously, I'll go into more detail, but essentially what we were looking at is that there's a whole community of people that want to offer people who are experiencing homelessness support, but often they don't feel like there's any way they can do that effectively. So what we do is we provide a way of offering long-term financial support to help people move on and make a real difference to their lives.
Right. So does that include sort of, so obviously that's going to include all the basics, like accommodation and food and this sort of stuff. But do you provide like a sort of helping hand education wise to help people to sort of get into work and this kind of stuff?
So we do, but we do it through partners. So when we were setting this up, what we found is that a lot of people who face a financial barrier moving forward, are working with a support worker and getting non-financial support. But the issue is that very often the two people can see how they could be supported out of homelessness, but they can't realise that because there's not the personalised funding in place for somebody to take that positive next step. So it might be that somebody's engaged really well, wants to move forward and has identified that they need identification documents and a private rent deposit to do that. And then once they're in the accommodation, they can either get a job or be set up with their ESA to sustain the tenancy long term. So there are people working in the non-financial support area, but a financial barrier in addition, preventing somebody moving forward. So we come in and offer the financial support, but then there's non-financial support offered through the partner charity alongside that. And the reason we decided not to offer it ourselves was that when we were speaking with lots of people who are homeless about kind of what would be most useful to them, they said that it doesn't make sense to duplicate a service that's already there. And furthermore, often people have built up kind of a relationship with their support worker where they trust each other and know each other. And it's actually not beneficial to have to engage with someone else for no reason. So yeah, that's kind of, in summary, it's that you've got non-financial support, but it's provided through a different organisation.
Right. So what do you mean by non-financial support? Do you mean sort of emotional support and this sort of thing, or what?
Well, sometimes it's that, but sometimes you can have issues such as if somebody's not lived in a private tenancy before, they might not be familiar with paying things like council tax or utility bills. So there are often kind of things that it's helpful to support people on to be able to maintain the tenancy long term. Or people might not be familiar with how to search for a property. They might not have a laptop or something like this. And then also other areas of support, filling in kind of passport documentation. Maybe people are struggling with substance misuse, so support around that. So there are a huge variety of things that people can sometimes want help with, but it obviously varies from person to person, and it's a kind of personalized approach where people say what they need to move forward and then create an action plan. We help realize the financial elements, and the support worker will help realize the non-financial elements that people are struggling with. Right.
That sounds fantastic. So, I think over the next few years, I can see your organisation growing quite sizably. I know you were on the BBC a while back, and you did a pilot scheme in Oxford, and that worked really well, didn't it? So now you've recently done one in London. I've got someone else I want to introduce you to on that front, but you probably need to connect with me on Facebook for me to do that because she's involved with a lot of churches in London, and I think you should definitely speak with her. But so with your organisation, do you see it actually growing massively globally?
Yeah, definitely. We want to expand this certainly nationally, and we've, as you say, we ran a successful trial, and a lot of people within Oxford, we were able to help move forward. So we wanted to grow it from there. So yeah, as you say, we've recently done a very small pilot in London and we're basically in the process of expanding that now, and then also looking at other areas within the country. Internationally, it's obviously very hard to say at this time because different countries have very different climates in terms of kind of government support, support services, attitudes towards giving. So it's very hard to say, but I think certainly homelessness is a pretty much global problem that people face. So I mean, if one day we could support people internationally to move on out of homelessness through this, I think that would obviously be absolutely fantastic. And I think there's likely scope for it, but it's very hard to say at this stage, given how countries differ.
Yeah, it's not an easy one. I mean, from what I gather, I think it's something like how many billion? I think there are 8 billion people on the planet. Is that right?
I think it's around that. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and apparently 1 billion of those are, not living as they should be, right? So, apparently, I mean, blockchain technology with cryptocurrency can actually help those guys to sort of have a bank account and this kind of stuff. Is that an angle that you guys think that you will move towards?
It's not something that we've looked at, to be honest. It's perhaps a bit far down the line, but I can certainly see the benefits that would have to people. It's not something we're kind of looking into at the moment. We're still pretty small and have a lot on our plates trying to sort of scale this up within the UK. So we're pretty focused on that and that next step at the moment and supporting people in the way. But certainly there are, as you say, kind of numerous ideas as to where this could go if we were to be successful in expanding it. And I think, like you say, there is so many people living in situations of poverty, and then also a lot of people, very fortunately, that want to offer support. But at the moment, there's a real problem of kind of linking those two groups. So I think technology offers us a real opportunity now to really link people better, create more of a sense of community amongst people who otherwise couldn't kind of form a community because of sort of geographical barriers. Maybe they're thousands of miles away. And I think when you do that, then people will receive much more support and will have a much more of a chance to help people move forward.
Right. Yeah, I agree completely. I mean, I think, so what I like about your QR code idea is that you actually include information on the person that you're helping. And I think that's really, really important, because it's like, they're not just a name or a number. Like, that is a person. They have skills. They have previously worked, or they've obviously got some talents there that can be, extracted, enthused out of them, I would say, or retrained. I mean, I think certainly with jobs and the way jobs are going in the next few years, retraining is key. And if people don't retrain quick enough to keep up with what's happening with AI and working alongside it, they are going to be disrupted. So I think it's great what you're doing, but I think the whole thing definitely needs more awareness. And, where I live in Chichester, I go to a church, and at that church, they are part of a group within Chichester who help a lot of people actually to get off the streets. They help them with accommodation and food and spiritual help and friends, exercise, everything. And I think I like the idea of what you're saying, of having like a holistic view. It's the way to go for sure.
Yeah, definitely. And I couldn't agree more on the kind of on the point about sort of sharing information that people want to put across, because originally we weren't actually going to do that. And then through talking to many people who are homeless, they said that actually that's one of the things that would really appeal to them if they were able to share certain things that they wanted to share, because so often there's this kind of deep negative stigma, whereas what people wanted to do is, like you say, oh, actually I really enjoy this and I want to talk about this and sort of share this with people, or previously I worked as this and that's my goal to get back into that. And I think like you say, it's a really powerful way of overcoming people's misunderstandings if people are able to have a platform to show the real story.
I agree 100%. I think it's going to be very, very good. I think that, I was speaking to a lady yesterday who helps quite a few people in the States. So I'll make an introduction for you there. But I'm quite excited to see this grow within the UK and in the future in the world, really. I mean, it's a great idea. I think it's certainly what people need, but having the support element of someone guiding people who are in that position temporarily is going to help them to get over it, because it's very stressful being under pressure like that. I can't imagine what it's like to be on the streets. I mean, I know someone who he's the founder of the CEO Sleep Out, Mike Tobin. Mm-hmm. And so all these CEOs, they go and they sleep out once a year and they raise, like, I don't know, a couple $100,000 for a homeless charity that he's involved with in London. It's like for homeless young ladies, I think, or mm-hmm. kids. And what happened when he was doing that is, one of the CEOs came up to him and they said, well, I understand what it feels like to be on the streets. And it's like, well, Mike sort of looked at him and he said, well, actually, you don't really, because you know when it's going to be over, Yeah. And I think it's a difficult one, isn't it? Because we're sort of, in a way, we're a bit desensitized to media, but actually there are a lot of people who do think like us. And I'm quite excited to share this story with people. So how do people get involved and help you if they want to sort of speak to you, Alex?
Sure. So people can reach out directly and kind of send through an email. So it's alex@greaterchange.co.uk. Or if you'd like to kind of support somebody in saving for one of their long-term goals, our website's www.greaterchange.co.uk. And yeah, if people want to get involved, kind of either through supporting it with their time, always extremely useful to have volunteers. So please do get in touch. And then if people can contribute financially to people's savings goals, it just makes an absolutely phenomenal difference in people moving forward. We've supported lots of people who have moved off the streets through a deposit and identification and have moved as soon as they've saved that money into long-term stable housing and employment almost straight away. So you can make a real difference by giving through this.
Wonderful. Well, thanks for your time. Really appreciate it.
Thanks.
Thanks so much for listening. Please subscribe, and wherever you prefer, share with your friends. And if you enjoyed the show, drop us a review on iTunes or wherever you listen.